of enormous pain and hope and all these things which sound like cliches but are not. And with Lee and Pink, they were going through all that. And Lee is sitting next to me and he's like, God, I'm almost falling in love again, watching that lustrous black hair and that baby face that's so beautiful. He's like, really? I'm telling you the truth. And people remember things. They make things up because it's a movie. We all make things up, right? And so I'm thinking about what I went through in the winter we shot it in 1981 in the fall, and in the winter of 81, 82, I was just going through the worst imaginable. I had a film that was like 2.5 hours long, and I just thought, what is this? And I was looking at it, and the more that I looked at it, the worse it got. And I thought, this isn't a movie. What does that mean? This isn't a movie. It means it's not really telling the story that needs to be told. And I basically threw it all out. And then I came up with a couple of scenes. I was coming up with different things that I needed to do, like the great opening of the movie. That's just made up later to have Lee come over the wall there, which is his graffiti wall, which that's Lee right there. That's his real persona as Spider-Man. And the beautiful photography and the sense of that we are really in a movie, right? And then, I'm not gonna go over all of it, but I'm saying one of those scenes, you know, if you got a good opening, what the hell are you gonna do with the end of the movie? And I couldn't figure out, what am I gonna do with Zorro? Zorro this, Zorro that. And I'm lying in bed next to my wife, and I'm going, I had this great idea. What if Zorro, in the middle of the amphitheater scene at the end of the movie, he decides he's going to go off, and he starts to jump off the edge of the amphitheater, and he's running through, and the police are chasing him. My wife is like, Zorro, Zorro, Zorro. All you think about is Zorro. The rappers are the only people that are gonna really the people are gonna be coming to see the rappers. They're the stars of this movie, not Zorro. And I looked at her, and I said, you did it! And I reached over and I gave her a big hug, and she kind of squealed, and then later said, you should owe me some script writing credit. That's it, fellas.
I'm sure there's lots of questions from the audience, so I'll keep this brief, but I'm sure there are. So, but Charlie, you say like the rappers are the stars. How did you get so? When I watch this film, it's almost like it's a miracle. It captures this moment.
It is. It's magic.
It
is. Believe it.
How did you win the trust of everyone? How did you bring everyone together? Was Freddie crucial?
Wait a second. The word entrusted. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, just like all these rappers wanted to be in the film. They trusted you as a director. They wanted to be part of the project.
How did they entrust me? How did they trust me?
Yeah.
I never was in a place that I wasn't invited. I never tried to be anything to these people that I wasn't. I was always invited to go places. It all started, I went to a jam, and it's the first time I went to a hip hop jam, and I was with Fab Five Freddy, and we were in the Bronx, and Busy Bee was standing there, and I had never met him. And he says to me that he saw me there, and he thought I was a cop. Of course, it's like a black guy, a tall black guy with sunglasses, and a white guy. Come on, there gotta be cops. And he took one look at me, and he said, what's up? I said, I'm Charlie Ahearn, and I'm here to make a movie about the rap scene. he goes, he takes me, he puts his arm around my shoulder, he takes me right out onto a little tiny stage. You gotta imagine, this is a little place, it's not the huge amphitheater. Up in the Bronx, we had a little tiny one, about the size of this area here. He puts his arm around my shoulder, he says, "This here's Charlie Ahearn. He's my director, and we're making a movie about the rap scene." That was Busy Bee. That's how he got cast in the scene. People go, "How did you cast all those people?" You know, I read things about Beat Street. They'd had 200 B-boys trying out for roles in the movie. They tried out every person in the planet.
Did you know?
What I'm saying is, when I started to make the movie, it began because Fred Brathwaite and I were at the Times Square show in June of 1980, and Fred turned to me and he said, "Wouldn't it be interesting to make a movie that combines some of what's going on right now in the subways with the graffiti and the hip-hop stuff?" And I looked at him because I knew that he had been working with Lee Quinones. And Lee Quinones was someone that I had been trying to get into my movie for 2 years. In other words, I made a kung fu movie in his neighborhood in 1978, and it was where all his giant mural, like the giant Howard the Duck mural was. And I really, really wanted him. I came up to him and I said, "Could you please, want you to be a part of what I'm trying to do." And he goes, "Bet." And he gets on his motor scooter and drives away. And I don't see him for 2 years. This is the way things develop, not in a real movie, but in real life. And the thing is that I'm with Fred and he says, "How would you like to make this movie?" And I thought of only one thing. I knew that Fred had been working with Lee Quinones on it. They had just come back from Rome, where they were showing paintings, graffiti on canvas paintings. And I said, "Well, if you can bring Lee here tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, I got some bank, like $50 or so, and you can buy some spray paint and do a piece on the wall out in front of the building." Now you understand, it's not my building. It's at the Times Square show. I don't know who owns the building. It's not my property. I never asked permission. We never asked permission to do anything in this damn movie. That's how it got made. And they came and they busted out a Fab Five on the side of the wall, and I always thought that that was the first $50 that I spent on Wild Style.
Okay. I'm sure there's lots of questions. I won't take up any more time. Does anyone have a question? Yes, there's one in the back, one here as well.
I was going to say, Charlie, is there any truth in the rumours that Debbie Harry was once considered for the role of Virginia?
Did I do any street movies with Debbie Harry?
Is there any truth that the rumour that Debbie Harry was once considered for the role that Patty Astor took?
No, Patty Astor just looks
sorry.
a lot like Debbie Harry.
Okay.
No, but also the reputation, of course, was actually based on real things. That there was a song out called Rapture, and Debbie Harry, you know, had spent a year with Fab Five Freddy, who was really called Fred Brathwaite, and she nicknamed him Fab Five Freddy because it sounded cool when it rolled off her tongue, and she sings, "Fab Five Freddy told me everybody's fly, DJ spin it, I said my, flash is fast, flash is cool," and then some French stuff. And so, you know, that's a lot of reputation, but it's based on a lot of things that were real, but she didn't really have much to do with the movie, except that Chris Stein, who's her husband and creative partner for life, the two of them were incredibly supportive of the movie Wild Style. Chris Stein did much of the music, not all of it, but he did most of the music in Wild Style. Debbie Harry was very supportive of the movie. That meant a lot to us when all we had was a Xerox and a piece of paper. There was like nothing, there was no support, period. But beyond that, no, she's not in the movie, etc.
Do we have another question? Over here.
Hi Charlie, really good to meet you earlier at the gallery. Thank you for bringing us the film, it's incredible. It means so much to so many people. A question I'd like to ask is, did you have to get permission to film the scenes in the train yard, or did you...
The train yards, yes.
You didn't break in guerrilla style?
The train yards cost us $25,000.
Wow.
For 2 hours.
Wow.
3 weeks in advance in a check that's already pre-drawn from your business account that goes into an account. That's business. That was like the thing we paid for.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that.
And Lee didn't show up for the scene. Instead, we got Dondi to put on his do-rag and do the scene.
Do we have another question? This in the front here, this gentleman. Mike's coming.
Hey Charlie, thanks
Yeah.
so much for the film.
Hey.
Can you tell us what was it like making the scenes at the end in the amphitheatre? Because the atmosphere in those scenes at the end is absolutely amazing. What was it like to make that, to shoot it?
I'll tell you what it was like. I had a roll of $100 bills in my back pocket right here. I won't tell you how many. And I was behind the DJ booth like this, very carefully, because you don't see me appear in the movie. And when someone got off the stage, I would pull out 100 like this as they would get off the stage, and I would hand it to them. That's how the movie got made.
Do we have this man there? Yes.
Hi. I was listening to Rob Swift, DJ Rob Swift, just a couple of days ago, and he was talking about Grandmaster Flash, right? And how that was the origins for beat juggling, what he did, right? And I remember watching that film when I was 17, and it blew my mind and got me into DJing. And you know, also I had to find out the name of them records that he was using. So I found out very quickly it was Mardi Gras. You know, I had to have double copies of those records, right? So what I wanted to ask you was, how did you manage to get Grandmaster? Because it really is a seminal moment, watching him in his prime, doing his thing in the kitchen. So how did you manage to get Grandmaster Flash to do what he did in that film?
I paid him $500.
Of course you paid him money, but...
We shot that scene in 1981, the year that we did a scene at the amphitheater, which we didn't use any of that scene. But the Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five were on stage, and that scene, you notice that Fab Five Freddy is sitting there.
Yeah.
There's a reason why he's sitting there. There was a whole dialogue scene that we shot where he's talking to Flash about bringing the Furious to the amphitheater the next morning. And that was actually done and shot. And we didn't use that. But I thought it was so nice that Flash cut that scene in his kitchen, you know, with the 3 turntables on the stove in his kitchen, and so we left it in the movie. That's it.
I think we've got time for one more question, please. Someone? Lady in the middle.
Hi. This is my first time watching the movie. I thought it was great. My dad was like a big lover of hip hop growing up. I saw Grandmaster Flash when I was like 10, and he's like been so jealous of me ever since. I had a question about the women in the film.
The women in the film?
Yeah, the female like rappers. Did they have as much sort of like prestige or like respect as the men in the film?
You mean Lisa
like,
Lee?
Yeah. And do you have any like ever like excess footage of them, or would you consider making like something about the female rappers?
You know, we shot the film twice, and the first time, I think there was more footage of Lisa. There wasn't more. There was some footage of Lisa Lee at the amphitheater. I mean, at the Dixie, but it wasn't really that great. And so we used what we could of Lisa Lee, and it was great to have her in the movie.
That's great. Thank you.
Is there any outtakes and stuff and material that's?
No. I mean, I you know, there's so many great female MCs. Obviously, Shah Rock is gold. She always will be. She still is. But she was with the Funky Four, and the Funky Four and Rodney C. They split up over Sylvia Robinson in the record label, Sugar Hill Records. Same with Flash and his crew. They split up over Sylvia Robinson and the record label. It's too long of a story.
I know that there's not extra footage on the disc. I know that the Arrow Blu-ray is coming out in December, and I know that it comes with a CD with lots of audio outtakes, different takes that didn't make it into the film. But there's going to be different audio that's never been heard before, as I understand.
That's true.
Yeah. So that's really exciting. I don't know if that's got Lisa Lee or anyone, but there's definitely.
We can see. We're going to keep hope alive.
I wish we had more time. I think that is all.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much.